my name is Phil Anderson, and I'm running for United States Senate to represent Wisconsin. Quite often people ask me in this campaign, do I expect to win? Well, I'm going to try and win, but I understand realistically that the odds are against me because both of my opponents, of course, are backed by very large parties with a huge fundraising apparatus, and they've already both raised over $3 million, while I have raised less than, about 3% of that, I'd say. We're going to use our money wisely, but they're obviously going to have plenty of money to spend, and probably to the point where they can ignore me. But I keep thinking, when people ask me why I'm running, why do I run if I don't really have a realistic chance to win? And the answer is because the things that we believe in, the things that are problems with the federal government, with the Republicans and Democrats running the federal government, and the things that we as libertarians can bring to the discussion at least are very, very valuable. And they won't get mentioned unless we run. And then it made me think about something else. I've been a citizen of Wisconsin since, on and off since I was born. But I've lived in the Madison area since 1988, and I've followed politics pretty much the whole time. It was a big deal, obviously, in 2010 when Scott Walker got elected, passed Act 10, and then the recall election came in 2012. And I can't help but think, although I'm trying to avoid negative politicking, where the heck was Russ Feingold in 2012? I mean, it's really almost insulting, not as a political candidate for me, not running against him, but here's this guy who's the most prominent Democrat in Wisconsin. Just come off 3 terms as a senator, very popular, very difficult election in 2010 with the uprising of the Tea Party. So he's forms a PAC, works, teaches a class at Stanford, whatever, and then there's all these demonstrations at the same time, and he decides not to run against Scott Walker in 2012. Now, many of you who might be watching this, certainly lots of people around Wisconsin still back the guy, but to me, it totally ruined any sort of goodwill or positive impression I had about this guy's political character, not personal, his political character. Because certainly he knew that it would be difficult to run in a recall election in 2012 against Scott Walker, a guy who'd just been elected and was pretty popular among Republicans. It turned out the vote. But even so, he was the best guy to bring the progressive message forward against Scott Walker and the Republicans who'd taken over the state government. He was the best guy to represent that. He had the best chance of winning. If I had the same chance of winning now that Russ Feingold had in 2012, I'd be thanking my lucky stars. And I'm not to put myself above him, but you have a responsibility, if you're a leader, to step up and run, even if it means you're not going to win, but at least get things discussed, at least lead a movement, at least stand up. Stand up. But no, that's not what happened. So I'll leave you to decide, Wisconsin. What kind of leader do you want in the United States Senate? Somebody who's got their finger in the air, figuring which way the wind's blowing from? Kind of senator who'd make a pledge on his garage door in 1992 and go back on that pledge now because it's not politically expedient? What kind of guy is Russ Feingold? Well, I'll tell you exactly what kind of guy he is because I know this. He's the kind of guy that, despite the fact that Wisconsin has this fabulous progressive tradition, and when his state was taken over by Scott Walker and those Republicans in 2010, and they started to wreak havoc on what he would consider a fine governmental system, he did not stand up. He did not stand for you. Instead, he helped President Obama get reelected and formed a PAC and supported himself and his friends. That's sad. That's not the kind of guy I want as a senator, and that's not a libertarian statement. That's a representative governmental statement. I don't want a guy like that. For that matter, Ron Johnson, because he's failed his constituents as well. I don't want them as my senator, regardless of political affiliation. I want a guy who, when he says something, is going to stand up for it, whose beliefs last a long time, who have principles that make them get out of their seat and run for something and do something, and not just sit back and hope they get a chance to go back to Washington where life is easy. That's the kind of senator I'll be. I hope you'll vote for me. Because regardless, you know exactly where I stand on the issues. I will represent you. I will not represent a political party. I'm a libertarian by ideology, not by party loyalty. I'll stand for you, for liberty, for freedom, for your right to live your life as you choose, for those things that are common to all people. Desire to control our own lives and not be interfered with by people that have different ideas. That's the goal. I think everybody has. We just have different ideas as to how to go about it. But that's the kind of senator that I'll be. That's the kind of person I am. That's the kind of candidate I am. That's not the kind of person that Russ Feingold and Russ Johnson are. It's simply not true, and they have demonstrated it to you over and over again over the last 6, 12, 18, 24 years. Thanks, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.